He had chosen the corner table on purpose, the one half hidden by a tall fern near the fogged window, where the city's noise dulled into a low, forgettable hum. It was easier to think there. Easier to sit with a mug of oversteeped tea and pretend the empty chair across from him didn't still belong to someone who would never come back. The spoon clinked softly as he stirred, slower than necessary, watching the milk cloud and disappear the way things always did. Outside, people hurried past with places to be and hands to hold. Inside, the cafe smelled of cardamom and old wood and quiet. That was when the chairs scraped. 3 of them, not loud, not careless, quick, urgent movements, like birds landing where they shouldn't. He looked up, ready to apologize, ready to say the table was taken, ready for anything ordinary. What he saw stopped him mid-breath. 3 little girls, triplets, unmistakably so, same narrow faces, same dark eyes too big for their skulls, same uneven braids tied with mismatched rubber bands. Their jackets were thin for the season, sleeves frayed, buttons missing. One of them had a faint bruise yellowing along her wrist, half hidden under wool. They didn't sit right away. They hovered, glancing over their shoulders, feet turned toward the door like they might bolt at any second. The middle one leaned in first. Her voice barely disturbed the air. "Pretend you're our father." The words didn't make sense at first. They slid past his ears without landing, like a sentence in a language he almost knew. He blinked, certain he'd misheard. He opened his mouth to ask what she meant, to say he wasn't. "Girls." The voice was sharp, irritated, and far too close. A woman stood a few steps away, eyes scanning the cafe with the practiced impatience of someone used to being obeyed. Her smile was tight, painted on, never reaching her eyes. She took another step forward. Something old and instinctive rose in his chest, the same reflex that had once made him step between a stranger and his son on a crowded bus, years ago, before hospitals and phone calls and quiet funerals rewired his life. He didn't think. He moved. He pulled out the chair beside him and sat straighter, his arm coming around all 3 girls in one smooth motion, drawing them in like he'd done it 1,000 times before. They smelled faintly of soap and rain and fear. "There you are," he said evenly, lifting his gaze to the woman. His voice surprised even him, steady, tired, convincing. "I told you not to wander off. Sit down." The girls froze for half a heartbeat. Then, as if a silent signal had passed between them, they melted into him. One clutched his sleeve, another pressed her forehead into his side. The third slid fully into the chair, close enough that their knees touched his. The woman's eyes flicked from his face to the girls, then back again. She took him in quickly, the lines around his eyes, the worn jacket, the ring-shaped tan on his finger where a band used to be. Calculating, weighing risk. "They're yours," she asked, voice sweet now, syrup thick. He didn't hesitate. "Mine." A pause. Long enough for the cafe's background music to change songs. Long enough for the barista to glance over, curious. The woman sniffed, lips curling. "Keep better track of them," she muttered, already turning away. Causing a scene. The bell over the door jingled as she left, cold air rushing in behind her before the door shut again. Only then did he feel the tremor run through the small bodies pressed against him. For a moment, none of them spoke. The cafe noise returned gradually, the hiss of the espresso machine, the murmur of conversation, the clink of cups. His heart was pounding far too hard for someone who had been sitting still. He loosened his arm, careful not to startle them. "Hey," he said softly. "She's gone." The girl on his right looked up first. Her eyes were glassy, lashes clumped together with unshed tears she was clearly determined not to let fall. "You didn't have to," she said, like an apology. "I know," he replied. "But I wanted to." That seemed to undo them. The middle one's face crumpled. The smallest let out a shaky breath that turned into a quiet sob before she could stop it. They clung harder now, like gravity had increased. He flagged the barista with a raised hand. "3 hot chocolates," he said when she came over, lowering his voice. "Extra marshmallows." The barista's eyes softened. She nodded without asking questions. When he looked back down, the girls were watching him with a mix of disbelief and hope that made his chest ache. "You don't know us," the smallest said. "No," he agreed, "but I'm here." They exchanged looks. silent communication perfected by years of sticking together. Finally, the one with the bruised wrist spoke. "We weren't trying to steal anything," she blurted out. She was going to take us back." "Back where?" he asked gently. She swallowed. "The place that splits people up." That was all it took. He didn't ask for names right away. He didn't ask for details they weren't ready to give. He listened as their words came out in fragments. Nights on cots lined up too close, bags labeled with numbers, promises that tomorrow would be better, adults who decided things without looking them in the eye. He listened to the fear beneath every sentence. Of being separated, of being forgotten, of being sent somewhere worse. When the hot chocolates arrived, steam rising, he pushed the mugs toward them. "Drink," he said, slow. They wrapped their hands around the cups like it was warmth itself they were afraid of losing. For a few minutes, the only sounds were careful sips and deep, steady breaths. He realized then that his tea had gone cold. He didn't care. Across the table, 3 identical faces watched him over the rims of their mugs, searching for cracks in his calm, for signs that he might disappear too. He held their gaze, one by one, and stayed. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside, something fragile and unexpected began to feel, just barely, safe. They drank in careful, synchronized sips, like they'd learned the hard way that good things vanished if you rushed them. He noticed the way their shoulders slowly lowered, the way their breathing found a shared rhythm again. Only when the smallest marshmallow had melted did the girl with the steadier eyes finally speak. "My name's Lena," she said, tapping her chest with one finger. "That's Mira, and she's Nia." She gestured in order, middle to right, as if introducing a single unit made of 3 parts. "We're 9. He nodded, committing the names to memory. "I'm Adam." Nia tilted her head. "That wasn't your tea," she said softly, noticing the untouched mug. He smiled, faint and honest. "Guess I forgot about it." Myra's gaze drifted to the door, then back to him. "She won't come back." There was a practiced calm in her question that told him how often she'd had to ask it. "She won't," he said, certain in a way that surprised him. "And if she does, she'll have to talk to me." That seemed to settle something. Mira exhaled slowly, like she'd been holding her breath for years. Lena reached out and nudged one of the marshmallows floating in her cup, watching it spin. "You have kids?" Lena asked. He hesitated, not because he didn't want to answer, but because the truth still had sharp edges. "I had a son," he said finally. "Evan. He'd be 14 now." They went quiet in unison, instinctively respectful. Nia's fingers tightened around her mug. "What happened?" "An accident," he said. It was the word he used when he didn't want to open the door all the way. "A long time ago." Lena studied him with unsettling seriousness. "You still miss him?" "Yes," Adam said. "Every day." She nodded, satisfied. Children who had lost things always recognized loss in others. It was a language without words. The bell over the cafe door chimed again, and all 3 flinched. Adam felt it before he saw it, the way their bodies leaned into him, ready to disappear if they had to. He placed his hand flat on the table, steady, grounding. "It's okay," he murmured. "Just someone else." They watched him instead of the door, trusting his reaction over their own fear. Minutes passed, then more. The cafe filled and emptied in small waves, and with every passing moment, the girls' tension loosened. They talked more. About a stray cat they fed behind a grocery store. About how they could tell each other apart even when adults couldn't. About the dream they shared of a place where they could sleep in the same room without being told to quiet down. Adam listened, asked questions, let silence be when it needed to be. Eventually, Myra's eyes found the clock on the wall. "We're supposed to check in," she said. Not accusing, just stating a rule that had shaped her life. Adam leaned back, heart heavy. "Where?" She hesitated, then gave the name of a temporary placement office a few streets away. He knew it. Everyone in the neighborhood did. A place people meant well in, but where kindness was rationed by policy. "You'll go back if you want," he said carefully. "I won't stop you." Nia looked at him, panic flickering. "But if we go back, they'll split us." They said they might. The word might carried too much weight for 3 small shoulders. Adam stared into his cold tea, watching his reflection wobble. He thought of empty rooms. Of a backpack still hanging on a hook at home because he couldn't bring himself to move it. Of nights when the quiet pressed so hard he felt like he might disappear into it. He looked up. "You can come with me," he said. The words landed between them, fragile and enormous. Lena blinked. "Just like that, he replied, though his chest was tight with the reality of it. "No promises I can't keep. No pretending. We'd talk to the right people. Do it properly. But tonight, you don't have to be alone." They searched his face, looking for the lie. They didn't find one. Myra's voice shook. "We don't have much. You don't need much," he said. "Just each other. And, maybe me." Nia reached for his hand, testing. He let her. Her grip was warm, real. "Can you really be our father?" she whispered. Adam swallowed hard. The answer felt bigger than anything he'd said in years. "I can try," he said. "And I won't stop trying." For a long moment, the world narrowed to a small cafe table and 4 people who had all been pretending not to need anyone. Then Lena stood, walked around the table, and hugged him, fierce, unafraid. Mira and Nia followed, wrapping their arms around him until he was buried in braids and warmth and the soft weight of hope. Outside, the sky was already darkening. Inside, something long broken in Adam finally, quietly, began to heal.